We're in the Lens tab right now, and we're going to take a look at cropping. And boy, there's a lot going on with cropping in this application, and a new wrinkle with Capture One Pro 11. But first, let's get to cropping itself. So here is crop right here, and we have a crop tool that we can activate here, or we can activate it up here in the toolbar, either way. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and then I can choose my ratio, just like we can with most cropping tools. So if you know you're going to print, let's say, to 5:7, you can choose that and it will be constrained. In our case, we're going to go unconstrained because I want to make sure that I can crop this image exactly the way that I want. I don't want any constraints at all. Now, once I do that, I can go ahead and hold down the Shift key and I can just draw my crop just like that. And that's what I want. I just kind of want to even it out with the windows and have something like that. Now, when I let go, the image is cropped. You don't hit return like you do with other applications. It is cropped. Now, if you want to see the crop applied, you can just hit the V key and you can go to a different tool and the crop will show this way. However, in the thumbnail, you will still see the full image with the crop inside of it. Okay. Now, one other thing to note. For instance, we had a full resolution here on this. In fact, I'll undo that crop. I'll do Command Z. You see we had full resolution to work with. If you're seeing something different here, the culprit probably is in the Output tab. Let's say that you had this selected, 1280 pixels long for an output. Funny thing happens, if you come over to crop, guess what you're going to see right there? All right, so if you're not seeing full resolution here, go to your Output tab. Go ahead and just change it to something that's full size to fix that. And I don't know where that's documented. I learned that one the hard way. So again, I'm going to go ahead and pick my crop tool. Let's crop this again because I want to show you one other thing. So holding down the Shift key, I'm cropping the image here just like this. There we go. Once I crop it, I can move that crop frame around a bit. So do something like this. And then I can resize it too, just by grabbing the handles. Alrighty, so now the image is cropped, even though I don't hit return or anything else like that. So we have the window box, we have the shutters, and then we have this outside stuff here. I want to show you one other thing. So I'm going to go ahead and export this image. We'll talk more about exporting in a bit, but I want to show you this one technique. We're going to export a variant, which means it's been worked on. Go ahead and we'll export it to the desktop. And I'm just going to call this crop path. You'll see why in a second. And we're going to export it as a PSD file. sRGB, we're going to go ahead and we'll do full size. And then I'm going to come over to adjustments. We're in the basic tab right here. Come over to adjustments. And I'm going to choose crop to path. Alrighty, this is something new, but I think it's helpful for those that use Photoshop and Capture One Pro together. So I selected crop to path here. Alright, so we'll export to the desktop. Let's go back to basic. Let's just open it with Photoshop once it's done. Alrighty, we're ready to go here. So I'm just going to export this one variant. There's our progress. And now we've opened it up in Photoshop. Now what I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to go to Paths. And you'll see that I have Crop Capture One. I'm going to click on that. So what was exported was the full-size image, but because I made that selection in the export dialog box, I have a path right here. That path is the same dimensions that I use for the crop in Capture One Pro. So you could export it with the crop applied, or you could export it the way I just did. Now I'm going to come over here and we'll make that a selection. Click OK. And there we have a selection. And then if I wanted to, I could come over, click on crop, and then that selection becomes a crop. The reason why you might want to do this is that if you're suggesting an area to be cropped, but you're not absolutely sure that it's going to work in the final product and you're handing it off to someone else, then you can send it out as a path, and then that person has the flexibility to make a change to what you initially did. All right, so that's pretty interesting stuff. And we also have annotations that we're going to be talking about later, which are also helpful for when handing off an image, let's say from you, the photographer, to someone else that maybe is a designer and working in Photoshop or some other application. So I wanted to show you that. Let's go back to Capture One Pro just to put a bow on this. Here we are back in Capture One Pro, and our crop has been applied. But the thing that I want to show you is that if I click on crop again, we still can make adjustments. So this is non-destructive cropping. This will always be here. And if we look at things as thumbnails, you will see that we see the whole image, and then we see the cropping area right there. And we have some control over that. If we go to Preferences, and we go to Crop, you have options on how to handle all of this sort of stuff. So anyway, yes, cropping seems so simple, but there's a lot to it. And that crop to path, when you're exporting as a PSD file, that can be very handy in some situations.